My name is Misty Arnold, and this is my husband.
I'm Joshua Arnold, and this is our story.
So when DCS took our kids, we were both addicted to meth. We were hoping that it would, you lose your kids, you would think that you would go get better, but it actually made us worse. We felt like our reason was just, we didn't feel like living anymore. We didn't feel like trying anymore.
The hardest thing I've ever said out loud was that I love the drugs more than my kids. And it wasn't that I truly did, because inside, there's no greater joy than being a father. Without them there to keep us stable, we spiraled. It was 6 months from then that I was in prison. God knew that I needed to be stripped down completely.
I've had believed in God since I was a little girl, but I felt distant from him because I was ashamed. I was very ashamed of everything. And I still kind of spiraled out until I went to Faith Promise one day. I saw the church after I had been in a sober living house. And a friend of mine told me about this church, and we came here. And that one sermon really opened my eyes back that God still loved me. That God wasn't away from me just because I was sinning, that he was still with me.
I sat in my prison cell, or jail cell at that time, and that's the first time that I'd prayed in a long time, and it was for her. I was so hurt that I dragged her down with me. And I prayed, please protect her, because I'm not there to do it. And it was it was a humbling moment. I was going to GBB, or God Behind Bars, to get out of my cell. And I heard a message about, the prison that we put ourselves in, but you're not having to do this time alone. That God, he hasn't left you, he's there with you. And at that time, I was salty, I was mad, and I blamed everybody but me. And my father passed away while I was incarcerated, and me and him had kind of a not really a bad ending, but it wasn't a good one. I didn't get to tell him bye, I didn't get to tell him I loved him, none of that. And I got some fentanyl, and I'd OD'd on it. And losing dad, ODing, literally dying, I just cried out to God. If this is real, if you're real, I can't do this no more. I'm sick and tired of being, a failure, being a bad husband, a bad father. Take this from me. And this whole time I thought God had something to prove to me, and it turns out I had something to prove to him. I laid down on my bunk, dope sick, and when my eyes opened, nothing. No dope sick, no feeling, just like a warmth, that I can do it, but you gotta let me. It's gotta be more than just desire and want. And from that moment on, I still fail every day, but I try my best to, every breath I breathe, I give him praise that he took that from me.
So the way we reconnected, he was at this place called the Domiciliary. I went to see him, and then we just started talking again, and we both started talking about God. And I told him about Faith Promise and the church that I was attending and that I wanted him to go. And he would come see, when he got visits, I'd go pick him up, and he'd spend the weekend with me, and he'd go back. But one Sunday he went to church, and I'll never forget, because when we walked in and he saw Pastor Zach on the screen, he was like, that's the preacher that I've been watching in God Behind Bars. And it was amazing, because God had brought us to the same church when we weren't even speaking to each other. Once we started doing, or living for God, how fast everything came back into our lives. It was amazing when you give your life to God and you trust in him, and all the pain of addiction was gone. Now our sons were back in our lives, and then we had a little girl, and now we have best of both worlds, 2 sons and a little girl, and a home and a good church. And it's just amazing what God can do.
When you look at someone like me, most people don't give me the time of day, and especially in professional settings, I guess you would say. And Pastor Chris, which is our campus pastor, he never shied from me. Pastor Zach, I mean, he hugged me. He told me he loved me at men's conference. And nobody's ever paid attention to I'm covered in tattoos or that I have a backstory. They've been so supporting. But to see, especially to serve with my wife, to know where we was, literally homeless, sleeping under a tractor and trailer, like in the freezing cold, to how addiction went. I laid in a prison cell once praying for everything that I have now. And then to see it manifest into real life, to see my children with their hands in the air praising God, or to see my wife praising God, it's the best feeling in the world.
I think that God uses the broken and the most broken people so that no matter how low or down you get, with God, if you'll just trust Him and let Him into your heart, He can fix anything.